Killian is absolutely killing. Really? What is this, 2011? Are you serious right now? How am I supposed to make this video right? Welcome back to One Fantastic Scene. I hope that bit was worth it. And today, Inception, 2011. I really thought I was going to be talking about more topical things, to be honest. Even though the Batman films came out at the perfect time for me, really, I didn't really want to watch it because back when I was a kid, I was completely scared of it. I gotta be honest. Don't laugh, please. And I absolutely had no interest in watching Memento and following The Prestige. I know, I was a kid. Cut me some slack. So by default, Inception became my first Nolan film. And the discussions it has led me towards, the discrepancies and the technicalities of the dreams. And yeah, obviously that ending created the biggest discourse I ever had with any film at the time, which is great. And then I grew up and watched Interstellar. And yeah, what else I can say about that really? Kind of forgot about Inception. And I would just like to discuss this very brief scene with Cillian Murphy. Fischer, I'll be addressing him as Fischer, was very much a side character in this movie. Certain elements of the story kind of portrayed him as the antagonist. And while you could argue that in that he basically spawned the lackeys that DiCaprio and his gang has to fight, I really wouldn't categorize him as an antagonist. Throughout the film, you can see the incessant desire for Nolan to humanize him, to which I rarely do because he's just basically a trust fund billionaire with severe case of daddy issues. At its core, Fischer's story is about a son who has failed to become his father. And it eats at him. Screw this nonchalant gimmick he's pulling. By being this calm and collected rich boy, deep down, what his father's last words to him really kills him.
He loved you, Robert, in his own way.
In his own way. At the end, he called me to his deathbed to tell me one last thing. And I can only make out one word. Disappointed.
And I just find it so hilarious and absurd that the whole mission directive of Cobb's gang, Leonardo DiCaprio of course, was to inherently fix this problem by giving him a free therapy session basically. So setting up a background a little bit because it is a 2011 film, Saito, or Ken Watanabe's character, hired Cobb to kill his competition for him. But rather than doing it outright verbatim word for word by actually killing him, he gave him the best closure anyone could ever hope for with their parents. By dissecting it coolly by Tom Hardy or Eames, they instantly pinpoint the flaw between Fischer's relationship with his father, as even to a bunch of strangers, really, their problems and flaws were as apparent. And a line from Cobb really stands out for me.
Subconscious is motivated by emotion, right? Not reason. We need to find a way to translate this into an emotional concept. Now, Robert's relationship with his father is stressed, to say the least.
You could suggest to him breaking up his father's company as a screw you to the old man.
No, because I think positive emotion trumps negative emotion every time. We need Robert Fischer to have a positive emotional reaction to all this.
And boy, oh boy, they did. So throughout the whole reverse heist, they did it. They incepted these ideas, confronting Fischer with the problems he so clearly had with his father, while Cobb and the gang tries their very best to make sure that by the end, Fischer would think that this idea came from himself, while having some insane set pieces, while also having personal struggles along the way. But we're not talking about that right now. And everything was falling apart. Cobb's team was separated. Yusuf was still in the first level, still in free fall. Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the second level, floating in the corner of an elevator, sure enough to die. And Marion Cotillard, who is just absolutely torturing the living hell out of Cobb. And amongst all of that chaos came this one scene, a quiet retelling of the last conversation between Fischer and his father, whereby at this point Fischer was convinced and mentally prepared to admit to his father of his mistakes to admit to him that he was prepared to leave his father's footsteps and not to chase this perfect image his father had created for him, only for his father to say this instead.
No. I was disappointed that you tried.
Real quick, I know at the beginning I ragged on the brass this movie had because, I mean, how could I not? It was essentially the meme in 2011. But man, this movie would not hit the same if it were not for Hans Zimmer's soundtrack. Time. And especially this melody from 5-2-8-4-9-1 is an absolute standout. The tiny stop giving the minuscule amount for Fischer to process what his father said before the rack with strings played this frantic melody, reflecting the intensity of the moment and outside of it. And then Killian, oh my man, Killian! It was a complete deconstruction of a man who was completely stripped from any forms of composure the moment those words left his father's mouth. The clenched jaw, the glassy eyes, and the quivering lips, all the hardship and miscommunication and misunderstanding they have suffered in their real life, it all falls down to this fake line created by Eames and Cobb, and as Fischer's father pointed to the safe, and it being the very last thing he did. Fischer reached down and opened a safe full of lies. Because he was. We know nothing about Fischer's father other than the brief newspaper clippings and glances and candid explanation from Fischer himself. This version of his father was reconstructed perfectly so that Fischer can achieve this cathartic moment, and ultimately at the expense of his fortunes and businesses and for the benefit of Psycho. And in all actuality, his father was truly disappointed that Fischer didn't try harder. But by the end, does it matter? Does it matter that a bunch of strangers had truly gave him an incredible closure that most people could ever only dream of happening to themselves? I see this question brought up a lot in a lot of other sci-fis. The manipulation of memories and emotion through unique and honestly impossible instances, altering our brain chemistry by inherently tricking itself into thinking that what is true is false and what is false is true. I'm thinking of Android Dreams, of Electric Sheep, Brave New World, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and now Inception also brought up this interesting question. And if these problems and questions and answers, I guess, are ever presented to me, will I choose to do the same? And if somehow the altercations of my own memories indeed happen, giving me a better or a worse version of events that actually happened, how would I cope with that? And I just wish I had the same spinning top that Cobb's had, where if the top continues to spin, it means reality is breaking. And if it stops, well, I guess I am sane after all. But in the end, I'm just really happy that I wasn't ever given the chance to deliberate on it. Wait a minute. Nope, I'm not touching that. Nope. No, thank you. I'm out. Bye-bye.